The lyrics are only going to take 5 minutes for me to digest because we're talking about a 1982 80s song and it was all about fun, pop, and being yourself. It wasn't about deep, meaningful lyrics unless you were on another planet and you were suffering from, and I sympathize, by the way, with anybody that does, depression, because 80s were about the release. It was about just having absolute incredible fun. And there was a lot of duos happening all over TV and in the music industry. At the top of my head, there was a very famous program on Saturday night that my sisters tortured me with that had to watch. It was an American series called Heart to Heart, and it starred Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers. And the two of them were cops, and mature cops. And Robert Wagner was famously married to Natalie Wood, who died tragically in a boating incident. She fell overboard and her body was never recovered. And there's been a lot of investigations into that Robert has kept quiet and he hasn't really spoken the truth. But fast forward into the music. This was another duo, very, very famous in the music business. And they were called Dollar. Who are Dollar? I will give you a bit about the two of them now. Thérèse Bizarre and David Van Day they were. They met when they were 17 years old, joined the cabaret of Guys and Dolls. Guys and Dolls, by the way, were a dancing, singing group that used to be like on their own on Saturday night on the big shows. They'd come on and a whole group of them would dance and tap dance and do different things. So anyway, the group achieved 2 top 10 hits in the UK and a few number ones across the mainland Europe in the mid-70s. But by 1977, the magic had gone and Thérèse and David left. That was the Guys and Dolls band. The pair worked on material together in 1978, were signed as a duo using the name Dollar. They released their debut single Shooting Star that same year and it reached number 14 in the UK and also broke the US singles charts at number 74. In 1979, Dollar capitalized on this success with a string of chart hits and released their debut album Shooting Stars, which was a moderate hit. They were back at number 14 with the second single Who Were With You in the Moonlight, while Love's Got a Hold of Me blessed them with their very first top 10 smash, number 4. Although from here on in the duo's success would come from their home country. They covered the Beatles' I Want to Hold Your Hand at the end of the years, taking this version to number 9 in the UK, and Dollar moved to WEA Records at the beginning of 1980, who used more money on promotion and marketing, although this was not entirely successful to begin with. The duo's first 3 singles with WEA all failed to make the UK top 40 or anywhere else, and their first album for the label, The Paris Collection, sank without trace even before it set sail. Dollar hit back though in 1981 with a more racy modern sound with the single Handheld in Black and White, which put them back in the UK top 20 for the first time in 2 years. The song was the first to come from their new album. The Dollar album, which this particular single, the Videotheque, is taken from, track 7, is the one I'm playing for you today. But back to this and the information. The Dollar album, as I've mentioned, and before its arrival in 1982, David and Thérèse enjoyed one of their biggest hits of all time with Mirror Mirror. I was thinking of doing that, but Videotheque has been now in 2023 being covered by a few bands, and it's making a resurge, and its different versions are out on YouTube. Check them out. And I just thought, you can't beat the original. So that's why I'm playing the original, in homage to these two and the great memories of the 80s I have with the two of them. Anyway, David and Thérèse enjoyed that, one of their biggest hits, as I said, from that Dollar album, Mirror Mirror. It took them back to number 4 at the time, the highest since Love's Got a Hold of Me. And the Dollar album fared much better as well, peaking at number 18 in the UK, the duo's highest of all their studio albums. But I beg to disagree, because this was my favourite of the Dollar album, and come back for a bit more bio about Dollar itself and Videotheque. I look forward to your company. See you in a few minutes. But first, let's reminisce of the 80s and one of the most famous duos of the time and glamorous, Dollar. Well, I think that was one of the best. And I camped it up because in the 80s, you just let go on the dance floor. You didn't care what you did. And the significance of this hairbrush. Actually, I'll just do a little bit while I'm here. I'll do my own makeup. When we come to the 80s was absolutely incredible. And it sparred like, oh come on, so many amazing groups, both in America and England. England always gets notoriety for producing the 80s and the excitement, Bananarama, all of that, Fun Boy 3, all of it, Madness, everything. And Madness are making a comeback as well and doing an album, doing a tour, all of them are. NSYNC from America, who were big in the 80s and especially in the 90s, have come back. Everybody's coming back. And it, do you know, when I did this, do you hear the Irish in me? When I did this channel, I wanted to prove, and it's in every description of every video, that the music industry was not dead. We've had Mick Jagger and the boys come back, U2, Atomic City come back, and Dollar, I feel, they've done a recent BBC performance and they sounded great live. Therese and Mr. Van Dyke sang really, really well live. And I'm going to feature that performance because I think we needed to be reminded of what made them so great vocally. When it came to the song itself, we've had the talk about Mirror Mirror. The Dollar album, which this was track 7 from, would produce yet another number 4 hit in 1982 with Give Me Back My Heart, and 2 further top 40 hits with, altogether now, Videotech, which reached number 17, which was my favourite, and Give Me Some Kind of Magic, which reached number 34 in the UK. But the magic behind the scenes in Dollar was nothing like the success they were now enjoying. Creative differences between David and Theresa was split, and David wanted to venture out as a solo artist. And so, in 1983, Dollar announced they were parting ways. Van Day released his first album, Young Americans Talking, later that year, although with no commercial success. In 1985 saw both parts of Dollar release albums. Theresa emerged with her debut album. Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, it's all live. If that woke you up. Back. The announced Parting Ways, as said. And Theresa emerged with her debut album, The Big Kiss, but having cost more than $500,000 to produce, the album flopped, which she herself recalls as being a mix-up at the record company, with the album unavailable at the time of its advertised release. Disgrace. $500,000 of her own money. And back then, that's the equivalent to millions now. Van Day was back with his second Ringing the Bell, but like Bizarre's first, it too was a huge failure, and not even making the top 100 in the UK. Perhaps everybody, it was lack of interest in their own individual solo projects forced both David and Theresa to regroup in 1986. Although the pair never recorded or released another studio album, greatest hits compilations and endless touring in the summer season put Dollar back on the map, as they've recently done on the BBC. They recorded new material, but this was not so successful. Their comeback single, Haven't We Said Goodbye Before, stalling at number 62. It would take a cover version to give Dollar a big hit with Erasure's debut single, O L'Amour. That was a great version by these two. Check that out on YouTube. Given a late 80s Europop makeover, this new version far surpassed Vince and Andy's original and reached number 7 in the UK with their first big hit in 6 years. The track also performed well across Europe. But O L'Amour was the final curtain caller as the follow-up. It's Nature's Way, No Problem. Flopped, and once again David and Theresa called it a day. Van Day had one last try at a solo career, but this came to nothing, and instead concentrated on spending the 90s touring the Dollar name with a succession of singers. Theresa Bizarre moved to Australia and left the music business to focus on family life. But in 2002, she and Van Day came back together for a series of 80s revival shows and reality TV shows in which former group stars vie for another shot at stardom. Theresa still remains a social media presence, while Van Day divides his time between performing with his wife, Sue Moxley, as the act Rich and Famous, while in 2019 he became a Conservative councillor in Thurrock, Essex, having previously tried for election in England in Brighton in 2007. He lost his seat recently in 2021. So that is the two of them, and I'd like to say Theresa went on to produce many singles for quite a few people, and they were very successful. So in her own right, Theresa did emerge more successful as a producer. So that is your up-to-date video with Dollar from the Dollar album. 80s memory, classic, absolutely loved it. I hope you enjoyed the background. My channel's just made 1 million views. October 2023. I'm absolutely delighted. So to all the people that comment, like and subscribe, thank you for making my channel a $1 million view channel. At last, I joined the Millionaires Club. Not in subscribers at the moment, but time will tell. Thank you again to all that has and made it what it is today. Take care.